All right. Well, favorite time has come. I'm putting Reggie on the hot seat once again, covering all the latest hot topics in Minnesota sports. Reggie, can you handle the heat? Are you ready to roll?
Let's do it.
So, the long awaited NFL schedule was finally released last night. The Minnesota Vikings, they were handed 3 primetime games. We knew about
Mhm.
week 2 at Philly, Monday Night Football. We knew about week 4 at London versus the Saints. But week 12 versus the Patriots at home Thanksgiving night, the third of 3 games on Thanksgiving, will be aired on NBC. Reggie, what does it mean when assessing the Vikings? Just kind of strength of schedule at first glance. What games are you kind of highlighting? What games stand out here as you see the full script of the schedule top to bottom?
I think it means they're going to have to bring it like early on this season. You look at some of these opponents, and you got Packers right out of the gate. That's going to be tough. That one's always tough, but they play pretty well against the Packers at home, so we'll see what happens there. Then you go on the road next week at Philly, and that's going to be tough on Monday night in prime time. Like, you got to bring it that night. And at first, you would think like, okay, maybe they get a little bit of reprieve in week 3 against the Lions, but shoot, the Lions are going to be better than they've been the last few years as well. They still got Jared Goff at quarterback, so but he's now got some more weapons on the outside, like Jameson Williams to throw to. I don't know if he'll even be ready to go at that point, but we'll see. And then you go to London. Like, this is a tough stretch. Then you go to London and you play the Saints. The Saints are going to be, much improved as well. You got Jameis coming back. And, now he's got Olave to throw to, and that defense is going to be good. And that's just going to be a tough one being over in London. Players talk about the jet lag and all that stuff. Then you come back home and you play the Bears. It's like no rest in between that game from London. So I really don't know how the players are going to, adjust to that. And then you go to Miami after that against the Dolphins. Like, that's going to be tough considering all the retooling that the Dolphins have done. And now you got to go against Tyreek Hill. That's going to be a big test for the new and improved revamped secondary. Interesting to see who they're going to line up against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And then you come back home and you play the Cardinals. Got the Commanders, then the Bills, the Cowboys. You saw what happened with the Cowboys. Then you go to the Patriots, the Jets. They got the Colts at home. And then you got the Giants on Christmas Eve. Not really sure what to expect from them. Then you go on the road to end the season at Green Bay, at Chicago. Those are no easy feats, especially late in the season, and it's going to be cold. It's going to be really cold in both of those places come January. And so this season, I think the strength of schedule is going to be tough, and I think it's going to be a good kind of introduction into the NFL head coaching ranks for Kevin O'Connell. And so you'll see how this team is built. You'll see if they're built to last and built to compete against these guys. And so I think what you can hopefully hope for is maybe 11 wins. But that's just going to be tough, man. Like, you look at that schedule and no game on that schedule is a gimme, I feel like.
Reggie, I don't see a loss, man. I'm looking. I can't find a loss. 17-0. We're coming. No, I'm kidding.
I was about to say, you drink some. You been drinking this morning?
Too much Tylenol.
That's a Mad Dog 40-40
too
or
much
something
cold.
this morning?
Yeah, too much
Coke 45 this morning?
Yeah. Sipping on Grandpa's cough medicine over here. No, it's a lot of great points, Reggie. I think first and foremost, we can't keep assuming. We've done this for 15 years. We can't just keep assuming we're going to beat the Lions twice every year. The Lions are getting better. And what I always like to do is I try to find the easy stretch and the toughest stretch. And, right out the gate, you think maybe, all right, well, you can go at home Lions and then maybe New Orleans. Maybe this is the year they finally regress a little bit, come back to the mean. You catch them maybe flat-footed in London, and then you come back at home against Chicago. Maybe that's a little bit easy stretch. But I'm telling you right now, do not write off the Lions. I would rather write off the Bears before I write off the Lions. And the Bears, man, the Vikings always have a tough time, at least at Soldier, every single year. So the easy stretch is kind of tough to find. I think maybe at home against the Jets, and then again, maybe again at Detroit. I mean, okay, they're not going to light the world on fire, but I think, again, as we saw last year, Dan Campbell has that team heading in the right direction for sure. Colts at home, Giants at home, I think that's huge. Just looking at specific players, you mentioned, is Jameson Williams going to be back for the Lions week 3? I don't think he will. I think he's scheduled to miss first 6 to 8 games. That could be nice. And then the other thing, you were hoping to catch the Cardinals one of those first 6 weeks while DeAndre Hopkins is still off the field with his suspension. I think he comes back after 6 weeks, so he'll be fresh and ready to roll. Nice to get, again, though, the Cardinals and the Colts at home. One thing I did notice, no West Coast games.
Nope.
No West Coast games. None.
The East Coast lifestyle this year.
Yeah. I mean, usually you get, a couple West Coast games, San Francisco or Seattle, Arizona. We play them a lot, usually on the road, whatever it may be. But the Vikings will not be traveling west at all this season. So interesting to note. The tough part of the schedule, though, man, at Buffalo, and at least you got these next two at home, but Dallas Cowboys, New England Patriots. That's a tough little stretch right there. The game before even Buffalo's on the road again against the Commanders.
Oh, that Buffalo game. Woo, Lord
yeah,
Jesus.
man.
Woo.
Yeah. If they
Von Miller coming after Kirk Cousins every snap.
We'll do this later on here as the off-season progresses. It's fun to find the little matchups, though. Like you mentioned, Von Miller versus Christian Darrisaw, whoever it may be. But we'll get into that as the off-season continues. But I think if they can stay afloat and get through those first, 5-6 games at 4-2, we'll see. They have a good shot of being, like you said, a 10 or 11 win team. Those last 2 games, though, man, going to be mighty cold. At Green Bay, at Chicago, to end your season. Playoff implications will be on the line for sure. Following the NFL schedule release, ESPN put up a article with a bold prediction for every NFL team. Kevin Seifert, who covers the Vikings in the NFC North, he wrote this for the Vikings. The Vikings are making the playoffs in Coach Kevin O'Connell's first season. They won't beat the Packers for the NFC North title, but O'Connell has inherited a talented offense and will bring with him a scheme that helped win Super Bowl last year when he was the Rams' offensive coordinator. Reggie, what does it mean for maybe the public's perception of the Vikings' chances for success this season? A quick side note before you answer that, Vegas recently noted over the last maybe 4 or 5, 6 days, the Vikings have been a heavy favorite as of late, as bettors have jumped all over. I think they're at about 18-1 to win the NFC Championship and 2-1 to win the NFC North. Those odds have dropped quite a bit because so much money has been put on them. So clearly something's going on with the public's perception of maybe the Vikings not necessarily being a Super Bowl team, but being a maybe under the radar type of team that maybe not a lot of experts is starting to figure out quite yet.
Yeah, and I think if you watched the Vikings last year, you saw a team that was very, very talented, but just played some of those games. You're just like, dude, what? Like, they were there in so many of those games, one possession, 1-point games, and they found a way to lose those games. And so I think you saw a playoff team last year that just underachieved. And I think, with new coaching and new breath in there, new culture and all that stuff, I think, people are hoping that they take that next step under this new coaching staff and new regime to be better and to make the playoffs. And I think that is what Kevin Seifert was kind of alluding to. The coaches from the Rams coaching tree have had quite a bit of success. When you talk about Matt LaFleur, you talk about Zach Taylor, and now you're talking about Kevin O'Connell coming off a Super Bowl. He knows what it takes to have a successful offense in this NFL. And you hope to see him kind of take this Vikings offense to the next level with all the pieces that they have in place. And you hope that the defense can be complementary to this offense and they can win some football games this year. I think the Vikings have the talent to compete with just about everybody this season. But what you want to see is them put it together. And I think this is going to be a test for this coaching staff because, all the talent is there. And what the Vikings basically said is that Mike Zimmer couldn't get it done anymore. They
Mm-hmm.
needed a new voice in there. They needed a new presence in there to take them over the top because, Kwesi talked about this being a competitive rebuild. They think this roster as it stands is good enough to win significant football games this year. And so now the onus, the pressure is on the coaching staff to get them to that next level and to kind of see, the outsiders have the expectations, of this team being good this year. And now it's on the coaching staff to kind of meet those expectations. And I know nobody has higher expectations than them.
When I was a kid, watched football or sports in general, I never realized or understood the magnitude and the importance of coaching. I thought if you just throw it to your bet, you just design the plays for your bet. You got Randy Moss or Barry St. You just get the ball to them. But as I've gotten older, I think this is even more true the last 5-10 years. Coaching is so important, specifically in the NFL. And Mike Zimmer, as you mentioned, for a variety of reasons, it wasn't just one thing. He had early success, but towards the end was just not getting it done and was, I think a lot of people will agree, was too stubborn. I mean, stubborn to a fault that he wouldn't adjust to the new league, the new pass-happy league, kind of the new tendencies, the way the rules favor certain things. And they went out and got a guy that is all of those things. I mean, a guy that is totally adjusted to, again, the new pass-happy league. I mean, he comes from the Sean McVay tree. I'm excited again to see this transition because the roster was already talented, but the head coach needed to be addressed, and certainly that was the case. I'm just looking at some of the other games. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at this real quick, but we talked about Chiefs and Buccaneers. That's going to be an amazing game. Pretty much anything with the Chiefs or Bucks are going to be a great game.
Yeah.
Give me just one other game, just non-Vikings, that you're looking forward to. I got to go Bills at Chiefs October 16th because last year's playoffs was the most exciting playoffs, top to bottom. Every game was just down to the wire. But that Bills-Chiefs game was maybe the best non-Viking game I've ever seen. So I'm looking forward to that rematch. Is there one other game that you're looking forward to seeing now that you've seen the schedule?
It's funny enough, I like some of these week one matchups. You talk about the Broncos and the Seahawks. Like, Russ got to go back to Seattle in week one to play.
Already,
like the NFL, the NFL, y'all ain't slick. I see y'all. I see what you're doing. You don't think I see, but I do. Okay. And then you talk about the Bills at the Rams week one. Vaughn just won a Super Bowl with the Rams, and now he's going back as a Buffalo Bill. And I think that's gonna be Buffalo is gonna be one of those teams this year that's gonna be hungry, that's gonna be like, they kind of feel slighted after what happened in the playoffs last year, and that was a good football team. And I think, they kind of retooled, kind of got some more pieces in there, and I think they're going to be hungry this year. And what better way to kind of show their mettle than to play the defending Super Bowl champs in week one and try to beat them. And so that's going to be a fun week one. And, it's just interesting, man. The NFL always drums up the drama, right? And
always.
They do it so well with these matchups, and they get us every single time. I think the Rams have something like 5 or 6, primetime matchups this season. The Bengals have one of the toughest strength of schedules that any NFL team has this year. It's like, the Bengals wanted their respect. It's like, oh, okay, the NFL gave it to them. What you going to do with it? And that, a lot of these teams that end up losing in the Super Bowl, they come out the next season and they kind of struggle. They kind of have a slump. And so
Target
the Bengals
on your
are
back.
going to be, the Bengals are going to be one of those teams that, they got hot last season and really kind of went on a run, and it was fun to watch. And now it's on Zach Taylor now to kind of replicate that. And that's proven to be hard for the teams that have lost the Super Bowl the previous season. So I'm interested to see if they can kind of keep it going and if they don't get figured out, because, I think in a pinch, and this is getting really inside baseball, but in a pinch, Zach Taylor was just, you know what? Let's just run a go right. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, just throw it up to him. Jamar's down there somewhere. And so Joe would just, launch it up to Jamar, and he would come down and catch it. And so what you're hoping for is a lack of a sophomore slump in him. I know he had some problems with drops before the season started. And so you hope that, all that stuff is out of his system, and, he continues to excel, kind of like how Justin Jefferson did this year. And so I'm interested to see what the Bengals do this year. And it's just gonna be fun, man. The NFL season is always fun, and it's just crazy. Here we are in May talking about these games that don't start until September, and people are really fired up about it.
Reggie, don't lie. You love it. You love it. Hey, any
I
team
kind of
can
do.
go from worst to first and first to
Oh yeah.
worst. Like you said, Bengals, probably a Super Bowl hangover coming. They're going to have a huge target on their back. So many blockbuster trades this offseason really soaks the fire here for a lot of great matchups individually and team to team this season. All right, Reggie, you survived the gauntlet. We're back here Monday after the weekend. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and join us every day for another episode covering all the biggest topics in Minnesota sports.